seem to treat a lot of cyclists, and you start to see patterns with different sort of sports that come through. And obviously, if we're all getting on our bikes a little bit more for the exercise while we're in lockdown, it might be that you start to experience some issues, perhaps with your legs, from cycling quite a lot. It could be that your quads really tighten up and you might start to get some discomfort in your quads. It's a little bit of a funny area, this, to talk about remotely, because there's so many factors that affect the muscle health of your legs, and there's so many tests that we can do in the clinic room, range of movement tests and clinical tests that we can do to really isolate the muscle group that's causing the worst problem. So I guess I'm conscious that I'm kind of paraphrasing and generalising something that is actually quite complicated, but in the interests of keeping you moving in this period of shutdown, I'm going to focus on the kind of obvious, and if you feel that this relates to how you're feeling, then it might be something that helps. So generally speaking, if your quads are tight, it's very likely that your hamstrings and or glutes are inhibited and perhaps a little weak. So what we would want to be doing in that situation is releasing your quads and activating your glutes and your hamstrings. A couple of ways of releasing your quads. The first, and I might be sounding a little like a stuck record here, but the trusty massage roller. And you cannot argue with the effectiveness of this for rolling out the muscles. And again, much like I said with the calves, you know, there's quite a lot of different muscles going on in your quads, and it might be that one side is worse than the other, but just find those sore spots and really make sure that you're using the massage roller to roll those out, relaxing and releasing that. Something else that you can do is a quad stretch, and probably one of the most effective ways of doing that is this. But if you're anything like me, I'm quite flexible and quite mobile, and I don't ever really feel like I achieve a decent enough stretch by doing that. So another thing that you can do to deepen that stretch and make you really feel like you're reaching that point of stretch, I always put a towel on the floor because you just want to protect your knees against the hard floor. But you can really start to achieve a deeper stretch by doing something like that, because you're not only moving your leg back, you're moving from the hip as well. Obviously then you will be wanting to activate hamstrings and glutes, and there's so many different ways that you can do this. In all fairness, you can probably Google it and ask Google what they think to hamstring and glute activation, because it's very much personal preference. But something that I find incredibly useful for myself is a very simple activation, and you can do this with build up to do it with more weights if you want to develop a little bit of strength, but in the first instance you can do it unweighted. So feet shoulder width apart. Really, really important that you keep your legs completely straight, because if you bend your knees at all, you'll be starting to use the muscles in your back. So keep your legs nice and straight, look straight ahead, and keep your back as straight as possible. I always imagine that I'm holding two weights in my hands because it keeps me in a good sort of shape, but I can feel that now, really working my hamstrings and glutes, as they're the muscles that are helping me stand back up again, and really I can feel that very much activating the muscles that I'm wanting to activate. So release for 30 seconds on the quad area, whether that be a stretch or roller, and then activate 15 times your glutes and hamstrings. Repeat 3 times, ideally 3 times a day.